I have prepared 10 more tricks and tips for Affinity Designer version 2. How can you add extra pages into your Affinity Designer document? There's a special artboard tool for that. It's the second tool on the list, just below the Move tool. Click on it, and by default you'll be adding pages of the same size as your document, but you can change that. You can even resize them later. You can have each page in different size. When you click this Insert Artboard for the first time, take a look. The backdrop change. We move from single page document into multiple artboard document, but we didn't add a new artboard just yet. We simply just unlock this feature, and from now on, whenever I click Insert Artboard, I will have this additional page. Take a look, here it is. I can move this page around if you want to reposition them in other way, but by default they will show on the right side from the existing one. I can click it again. As I mentioned, you can scale in the page. Not all pages need to be exactly the same. And I can click it again. And now I got 4 different pages in 2 different sizes. You can double tap on the name of the page to rename it. You can export just one page, or you can export all of the pages as PDF. So if you want to export everything into one PDF, just click File, Export, select PDF format, and then you can click Whole Document. Let's save that. And if you open up this PDF, you will see that you got 4 pages in this document. Alright, so that's how you can set up your Affinity Designer document with multiple. How to change a color of the object in Affinity Designer. That all depends on which object you want to modify. That's why I have prepared 4 examples here. As you can see here on the layer section, each layer got a different symbol. This is text, image, raster image, curve, and a shape, a star. Alright, so if you got a simple vector shape, click on it, and you can just select a new color from the color section on the right. It's the easiest case scenario. You can of course add additional color as a stroke color, so just click on this ring, modify the thickness of the stroke, and you are all good to go. For the curve like that, we do not use a fill color. If you add the fill color, you will get like weird results because it's not a closed shape, so let's stay away from that. But we can freely modify a stroke color that will kind of follow the line. So this is just a line. We can of course change the thickness of the line in the stroke panel. Text is rather similar because it's also vector based, so you just apply a text color from here. And you can of course apply a stroke color if you like as well. And for the text and the shape, you don't need to just stick with the fill color like that. You can also change it to gradient as well. And this way you can have a smooth transition between 2 colors. So just grab gradient tool, fill it with gradient, just like that. Okay, so that was the easy part. And some people like to know how to change the color of the raster object. So that's not really the main purpose of using Designer. Designer is for vector editing, what I just showed you, but there's a little trick we can use for the raster images. I cannot just select the new color from the list here because it will override the general color of the image. So you will have this mono color like that. Some of you may actually want that, so if you want simply kind of overlay all of the colors, put like color overlay on it, you can try that, but that's not ideal. Let's undo. Instead, we're going to head to Layer, then New Adjustments, and search for this one, HSL, Hue, Saturation, Luminosity, and from here we can just move this top slider that will modify the colors but not override them completely. Right now I'm doing this for all of the colors, so the result is a bit weird, but we can do it just for reds. So I can modify the hue of the red color, and as you can see, by selecting different colors and modifying them slightly, we can actually recolor this image. Even if it's just raster, we can change colors. Like right now I'm changing blues, and I can change the skirt and the clouds and this without like changing the color of the face. So if you are smart with this adjustment, you can recolor your raster image as well. Alright, so I show you 4 different ways of changing colors of the object because there are different types of objects in Designer. In this Affinity Designer tutorial, I will show you how you can separate curves into smaller lines and how you can join those smaller lines back together. So this is a curve, not a shape. So we got a stroke color around. We can move those node points to modify the curve as well. And in addition, you can change how it's bent. All right, so that's a line. If you want to separate a line like that, click on the spot that you want to separate it to add a new node like this. Then head to the top panel and you will notice this break curve option. Click on that. All right, let's go back to regular move tool, and I can now click on it and move it out. So we break this curve in that new point we have created. Let's try again. I click node tool, I create a new node by clicking on existing line, done, and select break curve. Now I can simply move the whole thing with the move tool. All right, let's learn opposite action. So if you got 2 lines just like that, how can we join them together? We can select both of them with the node tool active. So I'm holding shift to select both. Now you will see there's additional option at the top. Instead of break curve, we got join curves. If you click on that, it will join, and in this case we got the super strong angle. We need to fix that by pulling this node back. So actually it's good that it's happened because I have a chance to show you that it's fixable. All right, and I will recommend to turn this node into like the curvy one, so we got smooth transition, and this is just 1 line now. All right, let's try one more time with joining nodes, and this time I'll have something like this. If I select all together and click node tool and then join, it's again join the one at the top, right? A similar glitchy connection. So what if we just manually select those 2 nodes at the bottom and then click join? Now we got connection between those 2 nodes, and again it's a bit glitchy, so we need to pull this back to make necessary adjustments. So as you can see, you can control where those 2 lines will join in case you got something like here. I want to show you one more method of cutting the line, because in the previous method, when I add the node here and then I split it using the break curve, as you can see in the layer panel, there are now 2 separate curves. What if you want to just cut part of the line but you want to keep it as the one line still? We can do that. So to do that, we're going to use scissors. All right, I undo, I got 1 line again, head to the knife tool, and now I can make those cuts here with the scissors. Use the node tool, take a look. I split this line, but it's still as 1 curve here in the layer panel. So it's a bit different, and it's all selecting together. Take a look. It's still 1 object for the program. So it's similar, but a bit different. And of course, you can still remove those unnecessary parts if you need. Just select all, delete on your keyboard, and done. But it's still 1 object. All right, so here's how you split curves into separate lines and how you can join 2 lines into 1. Let me show you how you can save your Affinity Designer project as an SVG file. SVG file is more universal. More programs can edit and open this format. All right, so let's learn how to export into that vector format. First, hit File menu at the top left and search for export. You get this pop-up menu and you can change your file format. Search for SVG. And now you will see preview of your design. Right now I'm exporting the whole document, whole artboard. If you want to export only selection, we need to step back, so cancel. Select the area you need, just like that. And again, File, Export, SVG, and you can change from whole document into selected area or selection only. In my case, I don't have any backdrop, but that's the difference. Selected area will still have a backdrop color, and selection only will be only the selection itself. SVG for export, and we can click export, and you are done. You successfully exported your vector graphics into universal SVG format. If your document is big and complex, you can also head to export persona here, when you can decide for each layer, each object, each slice, how you want to export that. So simply click on the slice and then change the preset to SVG, and you can click export. Right now I got only one slice, so let's make a new one. I will make this area a new slice. Alright, so I got the slice number 1 with only this letter H, and also I got the original thing with the whole document. I can now select both, holding Shift, change preset to SVG, and I can select both like that and click export slices, and I will have 2 SVG files this time. So that's the method that I use when I got a big set, like 10, 15, 20, 30 icons in one document. I just slice them into smaller pieces like that and export all 30 icons as the separate SVGs. Alright, so that's the way. In most cases you just head to File, Export. If you got very complex document, like you got a set of icons of clip arts, you can use vector persona as well. How can we trace an image into a vector illustration using Affinity Designer? In general, there are 2 methods. Manual one, when you simply redraw the whole image using vector tools, and automatic one, when you use some kind of auto trace. Unfortunately, auto trace is not available in this software. So as it is right now, Affinity Designer version 2.5, there's no auto trace. You can try to simply redraw it all by hand using stuff like a pen tool, and then you trace over this image. You try to draw it around, make this into a similar style as that image, and this way you can step by step turn this into a vector illustration by hand. We call this a manual trace. Of course, you don't need to draw it everything perfectly in the first go. There's a node tool for us, so we can select the nodes after. We can modify them very quickly, very nicely, and it's doable, especially useful for logos and symbols that need to be very, very precise. Alright, so that's possible. We can retrace everything and got a vector version, but I know most of you guys want some kind of quick method. So unfortunately we cannot do it within the program, but we can use a website to help ourselves. So here I am on photopea.com. I'll just drag and drop my illustration, and I can now auto trace within this free software. Image, vectorized bitmap. Okay, and we got a vector version of it. Now we can save it as SVG. So File, Export as SVG. That was quick, no logging in, no waiting. Be careful that like top 10 spots when you just search in Google how to vectorize image for free, all of them are paid. They're paid programs. But Photopea is still free, so that's what I use for this example. And let's drag in back this new SVG file. Here it is. I'm going to zoom in to compare. We can see it straight away. Original one is pixel based, and the new version is a nice vector base. More than that, it's SVG, so now we can actually double tap on it and see all of the building elements. If I want to modify colors, it's so quick with SVGs, right? Because they are native to vector editing software like Affinity Designer. So here it is. There are 2 methods. You can use pen tool and retrace everything by hand, or you can use some outside websites like photopea.com, quickly convert bitmap to vector and then save it as SVG and drag it back into your Affinity Designer to continue on working with vector. Let me show you how easy it is to merge layers, flatten layers into one single raster layer. As you can see right now, I got 5 different layers for each object. It's a mix of text, vector shape, vector curve, and even a raster image. If you select multiple layers here in the panel section, holding Shift, or simply on the artboard, drag the selection marquee around them, and then right-click in the layer panel. We expect to see something like merge. Unfortunately, in Affinity Designer version 2, this function is not here. What we need to do instead is to group it first. Alright, all of those layers are still here inside the group. And now right-click on that group, and there's option to rasterize and trim. Click on that, and now you've got just one pixel layer with all of the elements. We flatten, we merge all of those layers into one flat pixel layer. So that's how you merge elements together, that's how you flatten your layers in Affinity Designer. Let me show you 3 ways of duplicating objects in Affinity Designer version 2. The obvious one is to select the object by clicking on it, and then we can head to Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste, and then I got duplicate of it. You cannot see it here because it's exactly on the top of it, so I must move it, and then we'll uncover the duplicate. Of course, we can do it with shortcuts, so I can press Command-C, Command-V on Mac, or Control-C, Control-V on Windows. Alternatively, if you press and hold Command and drag it out, I will make a duplicate instead of moving it. One more time, if I move it with the Move tool like that, I move the original one, but if I press and hold Command or Control, I will make a duplicate instead of moving the original one. I use this method the most. That's my favorite method. So instead of just moving stuff around, if I know I need a duplicate, I press Command, move it out. So I keep the original one and I move the kind of new copy to a new position. And there's also a new method added recently. You can click on the object and then hit Enter or Return on your keyboard. You will have this special pop-up for Move/Duplicate. Of course, we can use it to simply move the object, like let's say horizontally 200 millimeters. A bit too far, huh? Let's make it 150. Okay, here it is. But I can click here this little checkbox, Duplicate. And I keep the original one and I duplicate this one. Oh, we can also move it like 20 millimeters. And we can make multiple copies in one go. Move this slider to the right. Take a look. Here it is. So that's a nice method as well. So simply select the object, hit Enter for this additional pop-up box. While we are talking about duplication, let's not forget about Power Duplicate. Power Duplicate will not only copy the object, but also copy the last transformation. So let me show what I mean by that. I want to duplicate this and make it a bit smaller. So I put Command down, I drag it out, and I make it smaller as well. So I not only make a copy, but I also make transformation. How can I make this happen again? Press Command J or Control J. As you can see, I'm not only making a duplicate, but I also applying the last transformation. In my case, scale down. It could be rotation, so let's try that. I drag it out with Command Add Rotation. Command J will copy this whole transformation. Not only the object, but the last transformation apply. Very handy. So that's what we call Power Duplicate. Command J on your keyboard, or from the Edit menu there is a duplicate option, as you can see, Command J. So duplicate is different from copy and paste because duplicate will also duplicate this last transformation. Very handy. Hey guys, let me show you how you can easily change the color of your artboard, color of your backdrop in Affinity Designer version 2. I'm using the desktop version, but the process is quite similar on iPad. So here I am in a brand new project, and you will usually see this wide artboard. There's nothing in the layer section, so there's no way to really adjust the backdrop color right now, but if you switch to the artboard tool, you can insert artboard. Don't worry, it will not add a new page to your work, it will simply kind of unlock this first page that's already here. Alright, so as you can see, the background color around the artboard changed slightly, and the artboard now appears in my layer panel. So now if I select this artboard one, I can fill it with any color I need. And of course, if you need more pages in your document, you can keep adding artboard. So if I click Insert Artboard again, I will get a brand new artboard next to it, like page number 2. Let's undo that. So that's the way of changing the artboard, changing the page background color. First, you need to kind of unlock it with the artboard tool, and then when you select the artboard, you will be able to modify the color using simply the color wheel on the right side. Another approach is to simply draw additional shapes. So if I use a rectangle tool with a certain color inside, I can use that as kind of the backdrop shape. So you can stretch that all around, lock it, so you cannot select this anymore. And now this is your backdrop shape. It's very handy, especially if you kind of want to mix some colors. So you got like one background color here, and then you draw another shape below with a bit different color, and then you can kind of group it all together and lock it as your backdrop. Okay, so that's the method number 2. And in case of working on PNGs and you desire to have a transparency, then you need to head to document setup. So click somewhere outside the artboard, head to document setup, and in the color section you can turn on transparent backdrop. Okay, and then when you insert a new backdrop, because I changed the color of this one already, so I can change this to transparency. If you got this generic white backdrop, it will change to transparency right away. You will see this checkerboard indicating transparency. So if you design something on the backdrop like that, it's really easy to export as PNGs without the backdrop. Let me show you how you can design repeating pattern using Affinity Designer. So I'm creating this new document with a square artboard. So in my case, that's 512 times 512 pixels. And I turn on this checkbox, create artboard. Let's create this new artboard. All right, so this will be our main artboard when we're going to design the pattern. And then we'll have a second artboard when the pattern will be tested, how it's repeat itself. So let's also add another artboard. So I switch to artboard tool, click insert. And for this second artboard here on the right side, let's zoom in a bit. This will be the place when we're going to test out that pattern. So we can make it a bit larger. All right, so let's head to artboard 1 and start with simply putting one color. I'm using a shape tool to populate this area with a color. All right, now I want to turn this color into a symbol. Head to Window at the top and search for symbols. Now I can create a new symbol. And here it is. Let's pull it out from this menu now, so I can simply drag and drop this symbol over here several times, or simply copy and paste it. Let's close the window for now. So I can, let's say I'm going to copy this symbol, Command C, Command V, place it here. So I got like 3 symbols, Command C, Command V, 3 more here, Command C, Command V. All right. And thanks to this composition, whatever I change in this artboard 1 will change in artboard 2 automatically. So this is a bit of setup. If you would like to speed up your project and download this setup file, you can just follow the link in the description. But please watch the tutorial to the end so you know how to use it, alright? So let's continue by changing the appearance of artboard 1. Okay, so if I now open up the symbol here, I got rectangle in and I can start adding stuff to it. So if I add something inside that symbol, be sure you are inside the symbol here on the layer panel. If I keep adding stuff to it, take a look what's going on the bigger artboard, on the artboard 2. All of that, it's already repeated 9 times, so we can kind of evaluate that our pattern is repeating correctly. Alright, so now you can use different shapes, styles, artistic techniques to design your pattern. And see what happened? It didn't repeat on artboard 2. Why? Because this diamond shape is not inside the symbol, so let's just drag it into the symbol. We can modify whatever we want to modify here, including the color of it. Those two elements. All right. Let's now add additional rectangle over here with a bit a different color from the backdrop. Just like that. All right, I just designed this very simple pattern of the purpose of demonstration. So we got this pattern design inside the symbol in artboard 1, and it's repeating itself here in artboard 2, so we can easily evaluate the visual appeal of that pattern. And if you are happy, you can export just the pattern, just this one repetition of it, or the artboard 2 when you got 9 repetitions of the same pattern. If you want to try different composition, you can add additional artboard, and then if you can copy and paste the symbol here like this, you can even rotate this slightly, and you can try to see how this pattern will act in this kind of setup. All right, so how the pattern will behave if we are rotated like 45 degrees. And now I just keep repeating by copy and paste the symbol. All right, and take a look. The symbol is still active. It's still interactive, so we can change the color of this element, and it's changing across all artboards, so that's nice. I hope this tutorial was helpful. As I mentioned, I'm going to share the link to this setup file with 3 artboards. Keep in mind the symbol number 1 is on artboard number 1, so that's where you want to make your changes, and then they will be repeated so you can evaluate how good your pattern is. Let me show you how you can export your Affinity Designer project into a PDF format. So here I am. I got a project that includes text, raster, picture, and I got also vector shapes with transparency here. So this will be definitely an interesting and a bit challenging export. So let's head to File, Export, and here at the top, change the format from JPEG, that is default, to PDF. From here, we can decide about resolution for our raster elements. So text or shapes will be not affected, but the image at the bottom, that will be affected by this. 300, that's the standard for printing. You can lower this if you just plan to send it online to make the file smaller. So we can go from PDF for print to a PDF for digital, high quality, or even small size if you plan to just send it through. Let's stick with for print. We got some additional options here. And we can even set up a password protection for this PDF document. So before people can open it up, they must type in the password. That's not the case today, so let's just click Export. And here it is, a PDF document. Take a look. Shapes are still vectors, even though I got some transparency. They're perfectly sharp, so that's correct. Text is still selectable. We can select, copy and paste the text. And then the raster image at the bottom got good quality. So that's how you export your Affinity Designer documents into PDFs. PDFs are really print friendly and it's easy to share them with others without the software. How to make a PDF with multiple pages? You simply need to add more than one artboard into your document. So I click Artboard tool, and when you click it for the first time, you will not add the artboard just yet. You will kind of unlock this feature. As you can see, the backdrop color change. It's a lighter gray, and from now on I can just click Insert Artboard, and I got 2 more pages now. So let's put some content on them and try again. This time we got 3 artboards, File, Export, PDF, and now we can look at the area. Do you want to export only artboard number 1, 2, or 3, or the whole document? I select the whole document, click Export, and this time, as you can see, my document got 3 pages, page 1 out of 3, page number 1, 2, and 3. So we can make multi-pages PDFs as well.